Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this, our third day of the World Medical Innovation Forum. My name is Jason Zemansky. I'm one of the equity researchers in biotech biopharma at B of A. Very thrilled here to be seated next to Tadaaki and David. Looking forward to a very interesting discussion. Just want to remind everyone that if you have a question, please flag us. We have an iPad up here on your app, and the question will get ported to us. So given that this is an innovation conference, I thought we would begin with the subject of innovation. But recently, a Wall Street Journal article explored the lack of recent M&A activity within the biotech biopharma space, and one of the reasons kind of flagged for this dearth was the lack of innovation. So Tadaaki, I'm curious, do you think that we're in an industry-wide innovation desert or dip? And then, what is Astellas doing to maintain its leadership in innovation?
Thank you for the question. So I just see that, innovation is still thriving, in the industry, in the biotech and the pharma, as well as, of course, all the academic center. Obviously, we see some of the financial, downturn last, couple of years. But at least we see the more new innovations and science is coming to, the more research and clinic. And as Astellas, we also committed, long-term commitment, actually bringing, the new medicine to the patient who actually suffering from a devastating disease like cancers, severe ophthalmology, the disease, as well as, of course, rare disease and so on. So looking at the current landscape, obviously many challenge actually exist in a financial perspective. But at the same time, I also see that a lot of partnership collaborations, within the pharma as well as the biotech and academic, actually accelerating our innovation to moving forward. For example, we also have a lot of now partnerships starting from a research phase that we are now heavily, investing on. For example, cell and gene therapy, including, cell therapy for oncology, like, allo CAR-T. I think it's a lot of cutting-edge science is actually coming up. How are we actually going to combine such, the technology together and really bringing the medicine to the clinical phase and bringing it to the, the actual market is so important for us to get together, to working together. And, I think still the huge opportunity exists that we can actually continue to work together, our partners.
I think along those lines, obviously innovation is a part of Astellas's foundation. So how do you see in terms of the technologies in particular that you think are the future of innovation? That's number one. And then number two, like how do you stay ahead of the game? Like what is your strategy in maintaining that innovative edge at Astellas?
Yeah. So particularly looking at the innovations, you're asking a great question. I think obviously we also need to be really selective, but at the same time we try to diversify our modality. Our approach as Astellas is really slightly different from other pharma, which is basically we call focus area approach, that we can start looking at triangle. One is, of course, biology. You need to understand the biology, right? So that's the first thing, that how we actually understand the disease status, that we can actually thinking about what the best approach looks like. The second thing that we are also looking at is really modality. So we also looking at try to diversify our modality. For example, talking about oncology, we have a bispecific. Including T-cell engagers. We also have, ADCs. We have, vaccine virus, as well as, of course, to invest on the small molecule and engineer small molecule, like, target protein degradation product. And the last thing that we also need to looking at is actually disease. With disease, you actually tackling this, understanding the disease biology, and then really you have a tool, multiple tools. Then you can combine it, and then really looking at which in line of therapy we can actually tackle what kind of a combination we can target particular disease status. That's how we actually approach it. So how we actually differentiate from other is of course, one is that we try to really diversify our modality, as I mentioned. And this is also required not just our internal research effort, but also partnership with a small company that they actually have a cutting edge science that we can actually tap into and then combine our world-class, the expertise that creating a better product and really make the work in that particular biology and disease that we can target.
And then how do you prioritize? I mean, there's so many different modalities you talked about, from cellular therapies to ADCs. How does Astellas sort of prioritize which ones to focus on? Is that based on the indication? Is it based on the partnerships you've developed? How do you think about that?
So as Astellas, we always committed to really long-term investment because this modality and investment of science is actually require long-term commitment. You cannot really achieve short-term investment, then you can achieve capitalize after that. So what we see that to looking at our prioritization process, we also try to looking at to really learning from, of course, academic like you, that you actually teach us that what makes sense for us to really using our tool to really targeting, talking about pancreatic cancer, talking about gastric or, bladder cancer, or even lung cancer, because this is so important. You cannot actually do everything one single modality. You need to really think about the future, how this product, medicine can work in actually when we bring it to the clinic. So that's why I think it's so important to really have your support, you guys' support, actually let them understand what modality, how we actually prioritize this product that we can actually really sharply targeting some of the disease status as well as the mutation of the genes or expression of the protein. I think all the biology is so important to really understand what we can start with. So I think for us, it's really the great opportunity to exist that we can actually see what makes sense to really looking at what how we actually approach it with our tool that we actually available internally as well as externally.
I think it's like switching gears to, not really switching, but like transitioning to like oncology, because that's a favorite topic of mine as an oncologist. I've been impressed with some of the interesting assets that Astellas has developed over the years, and excited for my patients. What are you excited for in oncology at Astellas?
There's a lot of excitement. We talked about, by the way, before coming here. But I think oncology, it's amazing, the progress last couple of decades. Starting talking about targeted therapy, like targeting EGFR mutation on the lung cancer, which is really a game changer to actually try to, the disease, which is very difficult to treat, to make, the work with new medicine. I think it's hugely important to really work together with academics, really looking at what we can actually work with. And then, of course, we see the great progress recently, checkpoint inhibitor like PD-1 and CTLA-4, and more recently, we see the progress of ADC, including our product targeting Nectin-4 as well as HER2. I think the huge advancement of the last decade, and also see the benefit for the patient that for example lung cancer mortality is actually almost double the last decade based on the data coming from the US. This is hugely important to see what impact we can create as an industry together, actually making the patient life much easier, that we can provide more opportunity to actually be treated with the right medicines. So I think it's in the oncology area, hugely excited. Of course, we also recently published one data last week, ESMO, which is talking about more targeted protein degradations. This is also the concept that we can actually make undruggable target druggable. This is a concept how we actually do it. With the technology that allow to actually combine some of the protein, mutated protein that we can actually link with the degrader that we can actually degrade for example, KRAS, which is also primarily important for the cancer progression. So these are the kind of technologies to progress. Not just targeted protein degradation. We're talking about different type of the modality, like immunostimulatory, ADCs. We also working for the allo CAR-Ts, so more to come. But I think it's obviously the challenge that how we actually really select the right modality again, and really invest in the right spot that we can actually make a bigger impact on the patient's life.
And I guess my last question on the oncology side is you brought up KRAS inhibitors. That's certainly an area that's very hot right now in oncology and pancreas cancer, since almost 90% of pancreas cancers are KRAS mutated. It's very important for the cancers I take care of. How do you sort of see, we've talked about this, about a single asset for a single target that's very difficult. Is that the path towards getting our patients to potentially a cure? Or do you think we need to start thinking more creatively about combining assets?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Honestly, each of the product, like targeted protein degradations, we have really sharply focusing on the one pathway. I think that's a hugely important that because this pathway is really primarily driving the cancer progressions or proliferations and invasion and all the stuff. But at the same time, we also know that the cancer is so heterogeneous. Right? So probably you can talk about it. I have a lot of questions to you, but I think how can actually tackle such heterogeneous the disease that of course you have a very good target, but you cannot actually solve every single issue with this one product. So, when we actually develop the cancer product, we always need to looking at what's the combination, what the best combination with this product, and current available, of course, coming up from the standard of care, as well as the future of a combination. For example, talking about checkpoint inhibitors, as well as like T-cell engagers, even cell therapy. How can we actually make sure that we can actually do the best treatment, best combination that we can really tackling with such devastating disease? Because it's so important for us to really understand the product is also going to be viable, but also same time we can actually bring the best the value for the patient life and families. It's really benefit from our treatment.
Maybe if I could cut in with a question from the audience. Okay. Unlike many biopharma companies, Astellas doesn't have specific therapeutic areas it focuses on. How does this unusual structure help drive, or at least guide, innovation?
So, as I mentioned, our strategy is try to make a little more disease agnostic. Yeah. Starting from that. That is quite honestly different from any pharma. Because other pharma, big pharma, okay, we are the oncology company, we are actually, cardiovascular, we are the diabetic, and CNS. That's how people, other company actually structured. We actually try to define. Of course, we still need to work out, what, in the end of the day, how we have to structure, not just the development side, but also commercialization phase. We need to have the resource and expertise to bring medicines to the the customers. I think that's no difference. But I think it's our research approach and development approach it's quite different because, obviously that we can actually focus on, of course, one particular disease area. This is one way to actually look at. You can develop your capability within your organization in R&D or other the organization. But I think it's we want to be more open really thinking in mind that innovation comes from anywhere. So that's why I think it's so important to really work with like MGB to really help us to thinking about, okay, we have this science, this is the cutting edge science, okay, cell therapy, gene therapy, or any kind of modality, the bispecific, ADCs or whatever. But how we actually use it? How can we use this modality to really target the best the disease and understanding the disease biology? I think that's the approach we're actually taking. Of course, this is not easy, saying that easy, but it's not easy because you need to actually also develop class capability within an organization. Once you actually thinking this is the direction we go, for example, we recently acquired a company called Iberic Bio last year, which is also give us the opportunity to go into the totally different, the disease area, which is ophthalmology or, retinal disease. Of course, people wondering why Astra's going to the ophthalmology. You don't have anything, right? So that's a question that came up a lot. But I think it's our strategy. We already have the cell therapy products in phase 1, phase 2 stage that we are actually targeting geographic activity secondary to age-related macular degradation. So we already invested in the retinal disease. Then we also looking at what else we can do to really enhance our capability by acquiring some of the talent and also asset that we can actually making a bigger impact. So we're always looking at that opportunity, how can actually, of course, one is acquire or even partnership, and to really started looking at developing our capability and making a big impact on the disease, which is really underserved currently, current situation.
Got it. And I guess as a follow-up, some technologies, you mentioned ADCs, I think we're just now scratching the surface of their potential, whereas maybe even 5 years ago, we didn't really have a full grasp of what they can do. And how does that factor into your approach?
I think it's ADC, just a little bit, I think ADC is the one, but I think just just looking at entire picture of innovation, obviously we need to really, looking at what we can think it's going to be work. And then, of course, ADC is the one that we are thinking about how we actually going to progress. Of course, we already have the market product and targeting the Nectin-4. I think that's really work beautifully in some particular disease like urinary tract cancer. So we learned a lot from the clinic and the data coming up from, of course, research, development, and commercialization phase, and then bringing such learning, what we can actually develop new medicines and new target, new way of treatment. I think that is hugely important. So always looking at, looking back what we actually done and what we can learn from the past is so important, that we can be, of course, innovative, but if you try to innovate, you need to take a risk. We call intelligent risk that we always need to looking at how can actually take a light risk, intelligent risk that we can actually accelerate the way we're actually working, but at the same time, you also need to accept sometimes you fail, you fail. But failure is not bad thing. You actually understand, why we fail. And then this learning to bring to the new development, scheme or strategy, then we can actually do much better work and higher success rate, of course, accelerate the product, also understanding the reason, and of course continue to push our science moving forward.
Got it. And then maybe switching gears to looking outside the organization. Can you talk a little bit about how collaborations have helped Astellas grow, especially in oncology?
Yeah. Just looking at oncology, of course, we have now quite broad partnership with academia like Mass General, Birmingham. This is hugely important for us, because we have a common goal, not just oncology, but also rare disease, cell therapy, gene therapy. This is hard to go. If you are going along, you may not necessarily successful, but you have a partner, working together with you that teaching us what you can do, like they're just talking with David. He actually also talking about how you actually approach, pancreatic cancer. It's so difficult to treat. Of course, we have several modalities we can tackle with, TPDs, bispecific, or of course, we need to thinking about, combinations and, other therapy, like even allo, CAR-T, So I think it's so important to have partner, together and, really looking at, how can I work with, like MGB, or even talking about small biotech company. They give us, the different angle, different technology. I think that's the things we actually moving forward. Of course, for example, we recently had some deal, the partnership with Sutra Pharma, which is also cutting edge, technology. We actually working with them to really looking at to improving ADC, for example, to really try to make a streamless ADC. Still research level, but I think this is a fascinating. Okay, ADC is of course antibody we can target and deliver your payload very precisely. But at the same time, tumor environment, how we can actually stimulate, for example, so that your cell can target your cancer, precisely in that environment, that creating much better potential efficacy that we can actually, seeing that such technology. Of course, these are the things still exploring, but I think that if you're working alone, you never think like this. You start with, okay, what kind of target you can think of? This is the payload we can work with. This is the power. But I think just thinking about broader, open, innovations, and more invite, other companies, like, even small company, of course, academics, centers like MGB, as well as, of course, working together with even large pharma. That's also extremely important for us to continue to innovate and continue to push ourselves to actually bringing better medicine to the patient as quickly as possible.
Got it. Well, in the time we have left, can you maybe just comment on how Astellas plans to optimize these partnerships? I mean, how do you envision kind of their role in the greater organization, especially moving forward?
So our approach on the partnership is try to be more flexible. I think that's our concept, because every partner, large pharma, like we're working with Merck, we're working with Pfizer, we're also working with MGB, we're working with a small company, as we mentioned. So many different, the different, way to work with, and also their interests, partners' interests, and it's quite different. So our approach is try to make sure that we understand what our partner needs, and also thinking about what the end goal looks like. We actually see that the shared the goal that we can actually work with is going to work. But I think you also need to be very flexible internally. This is easy in a company, and you need to work with different the functions, including of course legal IP or the other stuff. But I think we believe that if we actually be flexible, then actually accept the different type of the partnership, you can actually really create a much better way to work with other partners that we can do different. And recently we also opened up a new facility in Cambridge Crossing, very close to here, and which we call the Astellas Life Science Center. And we have small, laboratory. This is a more open laboratory. We call the Saku Labo. Saku means it's actually blooming in Japanese, and also sakura means it's more like a cherry blossom. So this is it's still the small space. We started kind of experiment that we can invite small startup or some of the academic team, and they can get together. And of course we have the expertise internally. Creating a better, the product, or we have a lot of chemists and expertise from, of course, Japan and U.S. and other regions, so they can actually start thinking what they can do together, right? So this is a really open mindset. How can actually evolve our company, and really thinking about how can actually create such environment that we can actually more closely working together, even small starting up to a large pharma, right? like Merck or Pfizer, this is hugely important for us, because you cannot innovate yourself, right? You can, even you are the best people, you believe the best science, you cannot do by your own. The same for the company, right? Even the large company, they can do a lot. They have a lot of resources, but they cannot do by their own. You need to work with your partner, thought leaders, and they give us more different angles that you can actually make in the much, bigger impact or bigger, value for the patient. I think that's the thing we need to continue to push ourselves. But by saying that, this is not easy. Honestly, this is not easy. But I think this is the only way that we can actually win, and bring very important medicine to the patient as quickly as possible. That's what I think.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Tadaaki. I mean, as a scientist, oncologist, I'm very excited about what you're doing at Stellus. I'm very excited about the culture that you've built of being open with us, being open with others. And I look forward to what we can do together to help our patients.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave.
Looking forward to what comes next. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.